That leads us right into your talk yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
So you were talking about antitrust topics with Google.
Yeah.
And you kind of, obviously, you're pretty well known for not being the big fan of Google.
Some of their recent activity really doesn't excite me because they have been doing so many things that essentially get growth for themselves,
right,
sometimes satisfy users,
right,
but cost small and medium businesses a tremendous amount of opportunity. Right? Essentially take away from all these people who've built wonderful content specifically to rank in Google, and Google basically takes that information, presents it to users, sometimes without attribution, as in the case of Celebrity Net Worth and Genius.com, right, and these other examples that I mentioned. And when they do that, they remove the opportunity that exists for businesses to create content, for marketers to create content. And I don't think Google realizes that in the long term, that takes away a lot of the incentive to build things for people.
So I do think they realize that. I do. I mean, we disagree on that because
maybe
it was
they
interesting.
realize
Let's go to a point. So you remember Singhal.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
So when Featured Snippets just came out, I'm like, we set up a call. Danny and I, when Danny was not working for the devil, Danny's gonna watch this. And I went to him. I'm like, you know what you're doing is you're just pretty much scraping content from publishers. And back then, there was no real link attribution.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not even crediting these people. And look what you're doing. I mean, you're gonna kill the ecosystem. He looks at me. I felt like with anger. He looked at me like, because we're doing like video. It was for somebody to do a video chat. And he's like, hold on, step back a second. You're looking at it from an SEO's perspective. Okay, you got that? And what we need to do is satisfy the searcher. And if we don't do that, we're not gonna be around. That's what he said. He's thinking back then when it was like, I don't know, 2000, when Feature Snippets come out, 12?
Yeah, 11, 12, something like that.
And he's thinking then, like, all right, voice queries are not big now, but how are we gonna answer the result when somebody asked the Google Assistant, or his thing was the Star Trek thing.
Right.
How are we gonna answer that? He didn't say this outright, but he was thinking this, like, how are we gonna answer the answer? How are we gonna come up with the answer? We can't list and blue links. We gotta give a result. And after that conversation, a few months later, they came out making sure the attribution wasn't much clearer and so forth. Because they do understand, in my opinion, they do understand they have to somehow encourage publishers to create content. Without that, they're nothing.
I totally agree. I think that what I worry about is when they make these advances, right, when they try new things, it is almost always a case where they sort of step over a line, and then the press and Search Engine Roundtable and Search Engine Land and me and a bunch of other folks in this industry and in web marketing broadly and in the press talk about how Google is endangering this, and then they pull back, right? They pull back to a more sort of comfortable, appropriate level.
So you think they intentionally push it as far as they can?
I don't know. It
doesn't matter.
Either way, it doesn't matter. I think the important part that I was trying to make in my talk yesterday was that if and when this happens to you or your business, the press is your ally. Right. And because of the Justice Department investigation and all this concern about antitrust, there has almost certainly never been a better time to bring up these issues, because the Justice Department is looking, I mean, there was testimony literally today, right? Yes. A few hours ago in the House of Representatives. They were talking to folks like Gabriel Weinberg from DuckDuckGo and Brian from Celebrity Net Worth, right? And having these conversations about, hey, what is Google doing to harm the competitive ecosystem of the web, of search, of finding information, of publishing information.
So I want to direct your attention to two studies. The first is a study that's recently produced by Rand Fishkin, a leading expert on search engine optimization. His study primarily reviewed desktops and found that a majority of traffic to Google no longer goes out to the broader web, but instead stays on Google products.
So this is a real concern that that is now politicized, which I think is fascinating. That I can't remember a time when that's been true in the 20 years that we've been in search.
That's true.
This is
just thinking back about the personalities that worked in search, Matt Cutts and certain people, Singhal and other people that are no longer there. Like now there's certain other people that are there, but it's more, I don't really know who's running Google search these days personally.
Yeah. I also am not familiar with that crew, and it's not like years ago, right, where folks like you and I would be invited to the Googleplex to give a talk and have a discussion about those kind of things. I think they're
my question is, do you think like people like Matt Cutts left because of this? I would love to ask Matt Cutts, but
yeah, I think Matt Cutts left for other reasons. I think he'd had some personal tragedy and had some big changes in his life. I think that he also felt a sort of a higher calling, if you will, right? The way that he could contribute in a bigger way to how technology could help people, human beings.
I mean, Brian White just left like a year ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a lot of people that were, I considered at least high-core ethical people.
You have to also think like, these are people who made hundreds of millions of dollars
from Google
stock.
But they stayed with Google afterwards for a long time.
For a long time, but I think eventually you go, wait a minute, why?
I always ask,
why
are you still?
Why am I doing this?
Right, and they a little small change on Google impacts so many people.
It really does.
So Matt Cutts went to government. Makes sense. He's doing crazy, great things for veterans and for tons of U.S. citizens.
And initially worked on healthcare.gov, I think.
Healthcare.gov to fix that mess. Tons of things. He's solving big problems, which makes sense. But when you see the people just walking out the door, left and right, Paul Haahr is still there.
And Paul Haahr, I think, is an extremely high-quality human being, an engineer, and someone who truly cares about the ecosystem and doing what's right. I think this speaks to one of the other big topics I talked about, which is sort of the information accuracy issue that Google has been focusing on lately.
Yes.
And trying to make sure that things like, did the Holocaust happen, produces good results, accurate results, as opposed to misleading stuff that just happens to earn lots of the ranking signals they've historically considered important.
Right. And you said that was recent, but it actually was Project Owl. The Guardian story was referencing something from like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. The recent one around the whatchamacallit, they just changed a bunch of the results around the flat Earth theory, the anti-vax stuff,
they did,
and a couple other ones.
Of the
Yeah. So Dr. Pete and Ian Lurie has been paying attention to a bunch of these.
So those doctor websites that drop the rankings. So
a lot of those.
So that kind of brings us into the whole EAT thing.
Yeah.
I mean, ranking Moz is, you probably pushed for this, the ranking studies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They don't do those anymore,
I don't think so, unfortunately. I actually have a survey that is nearly built out that I'm planning to send around once I get through this SparkToro beta stuff that'll try and do some more of that again, ask folks.
You think that's important then?
I do. I think it is very interesting to see what search marketers believe to be impactful, right? What does our industry collectively think is impacting search engine rankings today? And how has that changed over time? And how does that align or not align with any of our individual beliefs or practices? I find that data fascinating. I don't think it is, it's if 37% of SEOs, think that authority is more important than content accuracy, then I should go out. No, it's not a tactical change. It's how does the industry think about things?
Yeah, and I think looking back, comparing the first study you've done to a new study that you do today would be totally different.
Yeah.
Although I think links are still probably incredibly important.
And I think it would be fascinating to see the degree to which people say links move the needle for me versus content accuracy moves the needle for me, or authority moves the needle for me, or gosh, it used to be all about link diversity, and now I can rank with just a few of the right links. I've seen a little bit of that too.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up the whole thing around, so EAT is really about obviously saying, I think these types of sites, YMYL, I called it a Medic update, I got shot down for calling it that and stuff like that, but when I looked at the data, it was mostly health-related sites, and then obviously a lot of finance sites. So YMYL, they have to be held to a higher standard, and that's Google's kind of classifying these websites and saying, all right, these are the types of sites that need to be held to this higher standard. Other websites maybe not. And I think what you saw, I guess, with the flat Earth and the vax stuff was kind of expanding what they consider YMYL, maybe.
Very potentially, right? I think there's a lot of this. We want to make sure, I think for two reasons, right? One, because it's the right thing to do, but two, because Google cannot afford bad publicity right now. It is a dangerous time for them reputation-wise, I think both politically, right, in the sphere of considering antitrust investigation, but also I think that that risk, they saw what happened to Facebook around privacy, and I think they are feeling the pain of, oh man, people are really judgmental of us today. Journalists don't feel the way they used to feel about Google, right? The New York Times doesn't write fawning op-eds about how amazing this company is and like, what are they doing to find the best people in the world and how are they building incredible office environments? They are very skeptical, very judgmental. I would even say, I think that a lot of people at Google feel like the press is biased against them.
But they've been so since 2012. You had the stuff around Jason's, what's that website he had? Like got hit by Panda.
Oh, Calacanis?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say there's always been some
there.
skepticism.
Yeah.
But I think that it is stronger and harsher than it's ever been.
For sure, that's for sure. But especially in this world of politics and stuff like that, it's extremely, extremely there.
Yeah, I personally, I feel like it's a good thing. I think that Google is one of, if not the most powerful company in the world, absolutely in the top 5 by every metric you can think of.
100%, yes.
And because of that, with that great power, they should be held to a very high standard.
And I think Google would agree with that.
I certainly hope so. So I get a little frustrated when my friends who are at Google sort of complain that they are getting treated unfairly by the press.
They deserve it. I think any logical person would say that.
I think when you're in, if you and I were there, right? If we were Danny Sullivan, would be like, well, sure, but I feel like this isn't fair, that isn't fair. Right. You're not giving us the credit and benefit of the doubt.
I mean, some of the questions they asked in Congress and stuff were completely ridiculous.
Insane. But some of them that were very, very fair.
Some of them, I would say 90% of them were just like, do your research.
Do your research.
It makes you question other laws we have from Congress and Senate and stuff like that.
But then when you as Google, right, when Sundar Pichai answers these questions in provably, I won't say provably false, but obviously misleading and clearly ambiguous ways that right, the answer should be, maybe I don't have that right in front of me right now, but I can obviously easily go get it and give it to you. And instead, I ramble on about some unrelated thing, don't answer, and then don't follow up to the written question either. Yeah. You know what? You're bringing it on yourself.
Yeah. All right, last thing. I honestly thought when Microsoft launched Bing, I thought they would have crazy market share a year or two later.
Oh, really?
I wrote a blog post. I'm like, they had the browser then. Google did not. There was no Android back then. There was nothing. It was just search engine versus search engine, Internet Explorer versus Firefox, whatever people typed in. They made some smart moves, Google. They created Chrome. They got Android.
I mean,
I'm surprised.
Yeah, so I think what's really interesting is that is a time frame you could point to and say, Google won exclusively or nearly exclusively on product quality and brand.
Right.
Because Bing's results in their first 18 to 24 months were not good enough. You could not reasonably use it as a substitute for Google if you were a savvy, discerning searcher and did lots of searches in lots of realms.
And Google took
advantage. Google took advantage of that. And then Google saw, oh my gosh, this is a real threat. Let's do, in my opinion, a bunch of anti-competitive, monopolistic things to prevent anyone from ever being able to do this again. Because what if someone does...
Chrome.
Such as building Chrome, such as buying off Firefox, such as funding Wikipedia
Apple
to get
partnership.
Yeah, all sorts of partnerships, even a bunch of Google investment funds that back channel in the venture world. They did not like to fund things that were competitive with things that Google was doing, and Google talked about what they would and wouldn't acquire, and biasing to YouTube.
Yeah,
that was
big. Yeah,
crazy bias to YouTube, right? That one day in 2012 or 2013, where it went from 50% of video results are YouTube to 97% of results are YouTube.
Right. But 97% of the videos on the internet are YouTube in general.
Now they are.
You always refuse to use YouTube for the embeds for the
absolutely
for the Whiteboard Fridays.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you spending the time. It was amazing talking to you.
One-on-one. Always great to chat with you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, keep these up.
And where can people learn more about what you're doing?
Check out sparktoro.com. You'll be able to hopefully sign up if this beta goes well in just a few months.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, I'm just leaving Rand now. That was one serious conversation. Glad he took the time to speak with me. Really honored. Rand's a good person, good friend of the industry. Sad that he's not involved directly in the SEO industry anymore. I'm looking forward to his success. He deserves it. He's an amazing guy.